What's up, everybody? Once again, we're here. This is Quentin Lee for the On Cue podcast. And in the studio today, I have with me once again my family, Keanah Turner. Say hello, Miss Keanah, to the great people.
Hey to the people.
Now, this is going to be part two, Keanah, of the love languages episode. We figured that, you know, love languages was so deep and so broad that we would have to make at least two parts of it. So yesterday we covered words of affirmation and acts of service yesterday for the last episode. So for today, we are going to talk about let's see what we're going to talk about today. We are talking about receiving gifts, quality time, and physical touch. Um, love languages, to have different understandings of all five that can help in strengthening relationships across the board, whether they're romantic, a part of your family, or even in friendships. So today we are introducing receiving gifts, quality time, and physical touch. And these languages, Kiana, aren't just about material things or intimacy. They are about much deeper emotional connections. And the goal of this episode is so we can help everybody out there with to apply the love languages, um, so we can transform not only romantic relationships, but also relationships with friends, co-workers, and family members. Now, this just hit me too, Kiana. So you mean to tell me that I can use love languages with my friends and co-workers and family members?
Yeah.
It doesn't have to just be romantic. I can show these things to my co-workers that some of them I don't like. Yeah. So the first segment, receiving gifts and quality time. Um, Receiving gifts, Kiana, is not about, and this is what I struggle with to understand at first. It's not about materialism, but the thoughtfulness behind the gift. It's about making someone feel special through meaningful gestures, no matter how big or small. That's very important. No matter how big or small. How can we talk about, Kiana, how receiving gifts is a tangible expression of love? It's thought and effort behind the gesture that counts. The gift is the physical representation of the affection. I like that. So if I understand what it's saying, if I'm just out and about at the mall and I come across, let's say that somebody likes crosses, a little cross. If I see a cross and I say, you know what, hey, my aunt would like to have this type of cross because she collects crosses. And if I give that cross to her, um, that's a part of the receiving gifts. Am I saying that correctly?
Yeah. I think it's just with receiving gifts, it's like you said, the tangible sign of affection. That was great. Um, it's just saying, I thought about you, and because I thought about you and what you like, I wanted to do this thing for you. And the importance of, like no bigger. Like it doesn't have to be huge. It can be something small. We had talked about that last episode about how a lot of people see receiving gifts as people being materialistic. It's like, I just want stuff. It's like, oh, I want a Birkin bag and all this other stuff. It's like, no, that's really being materialistic. But the receiving gifts part of it, um, is just a way for you to show them I was thinking about you and I wanted to do
Right.
this thing for you.
Yeah.
So I'm like, that's an important. The other thing, when I was looking at it too and doing like a little research about this gift, this specific love language, receiving gifts, they're saying how for people who have the love language of receiving gifts, it's important to them anniversaries. So remembering different anniversaries, it's important to them. And doing things to represent that anniversary. And I also said with people who have the love language of receiving gifts, for them, if something is given to them that is not one specific to them or their interest or lack thought, then they don't want it. In the sense of like,
Okay.
it can't just be, I was at the store, I saw this, these pair of earrings that were pearls. I got them for you. It's like, well, if they hate pearls, they're going to look at the gift and it's like, well, yeah, you got this, but it wasn't specific to me. Like you didn't really take time to think about it. So it's
Okay.
really the thought. And like I said, I didn't know the part about the anniversaries. They're like, they want, marked anniversaries of like, it could just
Right.
be a card or something. I was like, huh, I
Right.
hadn't really thought about
Maybe because the fact that the person would even remember the anniversary. So that goes a long way too. You remembered. Sometimes we struggle with remembering dates, but the fact that first of all, you remembered, then you had to tune into me to figure out what type of gift, big or small, that you thought would make my day. And that's where the love language happens because I now understand you remembered, you took out the time not to just get me something that just to say you got me something, like you said, the pearl earrings, and I don't like pearl earrings, but you took the time to go out of your way to search out a particular thing that I may like and to present that to me. As we're saying, Keanah, it goes a very, very long way. I collect model cars. So if somebody was to know that about me, I don't make a big to do about it. But if you watch me enough, if you notice me enough, you'll know, oh, hey, Q collects model cars. So if you want to make me smile, if you show up on my birthday with a little model car, then that does it for me. I'm like, wow, okay, hey, you took the time out to notice something that I didn't even talk about really, and you noticed that I love model cars, and here it is my birthday, and you present me with this model car. So that's the kind of understanding that we're trying to get across when we're talking about receiving gifts.
And also too, like we did last time, the flip side of that, if you are a person who, well, do two ways. If you're a person whose love language is you give gifts, so that's like how you show is giving gifts.
Okay.
The worst thing you can do is if, say, someone's love language, like how they show they care is gifts. The worst thing you can do, and I was looking this up too, is like one, to re-gift something, and then two, to not appreciate the gift, like
Oh,
something is lacking. So it's like
okay.
me personally, my gifts are my last love language. Like it's at the bottom. So
Okay.
I was kind of talking about this last time where for me, I have to actively be aware that if someone's giving me a gift, like I have to actively be like, okay, Sean, they're giving you this gift. It's because they want to, they thought about you, focus on that and really make sure you take note of it because it's easy for me because that's not my love language to just someone's
Right.
like, oh, here, I got you this. I'm like, oh, thanks. I don't really need it, or, I appreciate it, but I'm not really enthusiastic about it,
Mhm.
which then can come across as, oh, you're ungrateful for it. I'm like, no, it doesn't hit me the same as it
Mhm.
might hit
Right.
other people. And
Right.
just because it doesn't hit me the same does not mean I still don't need to actively work to make sure I appreciate that thing. And the
But
other
it.
thing too,
No, go ahead.
if someone love language is giving gifts and you're always like, oh, I didn't need it. Like me personally, I'm horrible at receiving gifts. I'm always just like, oh, you didn't have to, you know, you don't really have to get me anything. And it's like you're literally rejecting them. Like you're rejecting their gift. And in your head, you're thinking, oh, I didn't really need anything. Like I appreciate it, but you don't have to do anything. It's like you're literally blocking them from showing up in the way that
Okay.
their showing love language is.
And that's yeah, that's interesting. Okay. Um, so then is that something that you would intentionally have to now if we don't do a certain love language well, is it our duty once we are aware of that, is it our duty to try to improve in that? Or do we just say, hey, that's not really my thing, don't expect it from me?
I've learned how to improve. I'm a very
Okay.
self-sufficient individual.
Okay.
So one, I'm just like, oh, I don't need it. Like I appreciate it, but you don't really have to. Like I don't want you to go out your way.
Correct. Right.
So for me, and my aunt taught me this, she's like, Kiana, specifically, we talk about relationships. She's like, Kiana, sometimes just say thank you. Like just, you don't have to do all the other stuff. She's like, if he wants to do it for you, sometimes just be like, you know what? Thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you for
Right.
the gift. And she's like, just let them do it and say thank you. So I'm trying to get better with that, but I definitely think if you're a person who gifts is your lower love language, one, you definitely need to know if your partner, if that's their top love language as far as how they show, take care of. That's number one. And then number two, it's making yourself aware of how you respond. Let me say it this way, because 30 minutes of your time might be something that hits me more and hits me differently. So I'm like, oh, you have very limited time. Kind of like when we were talking about when you had mentioned just the after work, the 30 minutes sit down, watch TV. I'm like, that, I would appreciate that so much. And say how they're showing their care is the gift and they walk in and they hand me flowers. I'm like, oh, thanks, appreciate it. Cause it's not necessarily going to hit me the same as in my love language,
Right.
but it might not hit me the same, but my response should be the same, if that makes sense.
No,
So,
what you? Yep.
how I respond with the 30 minutes of extra time you're giving me,
Right.
I need to actively be aware to match my response to the flowers because
Okay.
it's easy to be like, that's not really my love language. It's not going to hit me as deep. And so my response is less like that. It's not as like,
Right.
oh my gosh, thank you. It's just like, yeah, appreciate it.
Right.
And so I have to work on my responses to be like, my response should be the same to any of the love languages as far as appreciation goes.
Yes.
So
Okay.
I have to actively remind myself to be like, wait, God, I did this. Thank you. Stop.
Right.
Thank you so much. Like, I really appreciate it. And if anything, I have to work harder because it's not my top love language. I have to work
Okay.
harder to make sure that I am being intentional and expressing the enthusiasm.
That's right. Okay. Well, so then, Kiana, in relationships, if it's constant work, which it is, if there is a misunderstanding or some sort of lack of communication with that, how do we in that relationship handle the misunderstanding to help us get over that hump to where most of the times when the misunderstanding happens in relationships, we split up. So how do, instead of splitting up, how do we navigate in a way with the misunderstandings and the lack of communication to get over the hump as opposed to splitting up?
Yeah, I think you learn in a certain state to meet in the middle. So I've had this where is that because I'm not a gifts person, people are always like,
Mhm.
oh, well, what do you like? So specifically if I'm like in relationships and stuff. They're like, oh, what do you like? I'm like, I'm not really a big purse person. I'm not really like flowers are nice. I'm not really a big jewelry person like that. And then once the guy he's like, so what do you like? And I'm like, it's not that I don't like stuff. I'm like, it's just not. So our middle ground was actually I created a Pinterest and it's called That's Cute or like things that I like. And I put stuff in the Pinterest to give ideas of things because I'm pretty practical. Like I don't necessarily want you to get me something I'm not going to use because I'm going to feel bad. So that was like a meet in the middle of like, you know what? This is you trying to show you care. Instead of me trying to stop you every 2 seconds, let me at least meet in the middle and do something where I'm like, I feel comfortable with you giving and you feel good because you know that you're going to get me things I'm actually going to appreciate. And I think that's with any of the love languages. Like if there's a discrepancy, and we'll talk about it a little bit later with physical touch, say your top language is physical touch. His
Mhm.
top language is gifts. Your bottom language is gifts. His bottom language is physical touch. So y'all are complete opposite sides of the spectrum.
Mhm.
It's both of
Mhm.
you looking at it going, hey, physical touch is not a top thing for me, but I know
Right.
it is for you. So I
Okay.
might not want to be sitting on the couch with you intertwined all over top of me because
Right.
it's hot. I need some space to breathe. But I will put my leg over yours and you put your hand on my thigh and we can sit here and that is the middle.
Right.
So it's like you're
Right.
getting what you want. I'm getting,
Correct.
because I
Yeah.
definitely want to make it clear too for people, don't ever put yourself in a situation where you're uncomfortable. Like you
Yes.
want to you want to compromise without being uncomfortable because then you
Bingo.
get to a point, yeah. So it's like
Yes.
you get to a point, now
Yes.
you're resenting it. So now it's not like
Right.
I'm touching you because I want to. Now it's just like, oh my gosh, I don't want to feel rejected. So let me just curl on top of him. My back hurts. I'm hot. I'm all uncomfortable. That's not
Right.
fun for anybody. So
No.
it's like you learn that compromise to the point where you're like,
Yep.
you still want to be in the moment. You still want to like
Yes.
appreciate. You still want to meet them halfway.
Right.
So for you, it's like, okay, can I give more? And then for the other person, it's like, can I expect less, if that makes sense? Like, can
Correct.
I manage my expectations of knowing this person's not exactly like me with this love language?
Right.
And just because
Right.
it's in their top, it doesn't mean they don't care. It just means
Correct.
it's going to show up differently,
Yes.
and that's
Yes.
okay.
Right. And that's okay. Which brings us to our first love language topic today, and that's quality time. And quality time, and we kind of touched on this in the last episode, is, and I know you did, um, giving your undivided attention, Keanah. Quality time is about giving your undivided attention. It's about making the person feel valued through shared activities and moments. So let's let me take an example off of like a boyfriend girlfriend type of thing and expand it to family. My grandfather and I share the love of the chickens, okay? And I understand that the 20 minutes or 30 minutes or so where it's just me and him in the backyard with the chickens, to him, that quality time is priceless, Kiana. I mean, his day is looking forward to that private time where it's nobody but me and him. We can discuss, we can talk, we can laugh, we can be open, we can be candid. So for all of our viewers out there, that's how you can maybe extend it beyond the intimacy level of a relationship. But now, hey, let me think about my family. How can I show quality time to my family? Maybe I'm not a big quality time person, but if I'm being empathetic and I'm trying to show or give to other people and not just be so inward or selfish, how can I do that? And one way that I do it for my grandfather is I know that he looks forward to that interaction every day. So I already know when I get off of work, me and him are going to spend 15, 20, 30 minutes down in the back checking on the chickens. And it does something for my mental, it does something for his mental, but he gets the quality time. I get to relieve the stress of the day from work. And now I'm using real life circumstances to take advantage of the opportunity to knock out the quality time.
Yeah, I'm big on quality time. This is my top love language. Like, I'm
Okay.
really big. I would say, like, I have to feel connected. Like, that's my quality time. I have to feel connected. And it's one thing where me and my dad, it's like a family thing. So because I am far away, like, I literally call the house every single day, usually after I get off work, especially if I'm in the office. And I call when I get off of work, and then I just sit there and talk on the phone. They can be doing stuff, whatever. But my dad would always do this thing where he would come into the room, he would say hello. I would be talking, and at some point he just walked out the room. I'm still talking. I don't know this man has left the room. After a while, my mom's like, "Yeah, he left again." I'm like, "I was talking." So I would keep getting irritated with him because he's like, "I don't want to talk on the phone." He be talking on the phone now because his new church, he always be on the phone. But he's had this thing. I don't want
Right.
to be all on the phone. And so eventually he just got to the point where me and him, we kept clashing on this. And I was like, you know what? I want 15 minutes. I want my, if I call, I want my 15 minutes. The only way you get out of it is one, if football's on and UVA
Yeah,
is
okay.
playing,
All
you
right.
get out of it. And two, if you don't feel good, you get out of
There you
it.
go.
Outside of those two things, you don't get out of it. I want a 15 minutes. And then if I'm sitting there
And
and I'm
and
talking,
and his response was,
his response was okay. He was
okay,
like, okay, the 15 minutes. But if he wants to go beyond that, that's fine. But
okay,
that was his response. I'm like, you get football? Ask my mother,
okay.
is the game on? Usually I know. She'd be like, yeah, I leave him alone. I call and I can tell from the tone of his voice. I'm just like, what's wrong with you? Because my head hurts. I'm like, okay, I'll talk to my mother, but we agreed on 15 minutes. And I'm very quick to be like, I want my 15 minutes. He's like,
Mhm.
what, Kiana? I want my 15 minutes. You're going to be happy
There you
about it.
go.
And if you're not happy
Right,
about it, I'm going to hang up and you call me back. And
right.
that was our agreement because it was me respecting the fact that he don't want to be sitting here talking all day. Me,
Mhm.
I want to talk because I want to feel connected, even if it's just like I want to know what's going on, what's happening. So that was our
Right.
compromise. the 15 minutes. Now, sometimes we go over that, but I'm like, that's just a thing in any relationship of being like, okay, how do we compromise
Yeah.
with these two things? And it works out for us.
Yeah. So can you talk about the difficulties in, if we take it back to relationships and family, because we are so busy, can you talk about the difficulties in balancing the quality time versus just, because a lot of times what couples will do is they just fall into this mundane day-to-day routine. And then we think that, you know, if dad is in there watching the game and mama's in there cooking dinner, that's not quality time. You know, we fall into that, and those things are okay if they're comfortable moving around the house like that. But if we're being intentional, it's different. So can you talk about the difficulties in balancing the busy schedule while prioritizing quality time?
Yeah, I know for me, I'm a balance of like I want to just be in the moment. So I don't care if you call me and you're sitting there cooking and I'm cooking or that's fine. But I'm like, there's also times with me where I think that's the importance of open communication, where I'll be clear and be like, hey, I don't really feel like connected. I want to do something that's just us. And I always say sometimes I want to do the boring things. Like I don't necessarily want to go out and do something that entertains us. I want
Right.
us to entertain us. So
Okay.
it could be something as simple as like we were talking about before, and he's like, I want to watch the Incredibles movie. I'm like, bet I want to watch Tarzan. So it's just sitting up a time like we're gonna sit down and we're gonna watch this Incredibles movie together, and it's just our time. The other thing too, when I'm with people, I'm very intentional about putting my phone up or silencing it. Now there'll be some times when it's like we're both on phones, but I'm very intentional about
Mhm.
this is the time that I have set aside, especially with me now because I'm so busy with
Mhm.
like work and then all the other stuff that I do. I'll carve out and say I have 30 minutes. I'm like, I'm getting off work. I just got home at
Mhm.
6:30. I have to work out at 7. After I get done working out, I'm gonna be exhausted. I'm gonna have to be paying attention. So 6:30 to 7, I'm gonna call. We're gonna talk on the phone, and I'm gonna be seated. We're gonna talk on the phone from 6:30 to 7 because I'm like, that's my undivided attention. Now, if I call back again after I work out tonight and we have a conversation while you're doing stuff and I'm doing stuff, cool. But I'm
Cool.
very
Right.
intentional about being like,
Right.
okay, I have this set time. Let's like check in, have a conversation with each other. In relationships, I definitely think check-ins are important. That's something I've learned, um, from someone of the importance of having the check-ins to see, hey, what's working, what's not working.
Okay.
Do you feel connected? Do you feel like something is missing? Or do you feel like you're getting my attention in certain areas? Like, how can I improve? And I think that's the big thing about quality time is
Yeah.
one, it's intentional. Like having little moments
Yes.
that just happen is great, but also it's
Yes.
saying, this is the time, like not even this is the time I have. I am actively making time to spend with you and carving
Mhm.
out time in my schedule.
Mhm.
So I think it's definitely a communication thing and also it's a maturity thing too. Like we are adults. We got things to do. We can't always be on the phone for 2, 3 hours talking. Like it's
Right.
just not realistic
Right. That's right.
all
That's
the
right.
time,
That's right.
you know, but I think that's
You're right.
importance of as boring as it may sound sometimes to some people my age, that's the importance of planning things. To sit there and
Right.
say, we're gonna go on a date once a week. Now,
Right.
this week you might have irritated me a little bit, and I might have
Right.
irritated you a little bit, but we still going
Right.
on a date because we
Bing.
planned it. We're
Yes.
gonna go anyway.
Yes. Thank you for saying that. Yes. We might have had a little kerfuffle and yesterday didn't go so good and yesterday was Tuesday and we just didn't see eye to eye. But if our date night is Friday, come hell or high water, we're still going on our date Friday. Yes. Yes, that is
We
so
are
vital. Yes.
go.
Yes.
We're going, and that's the importance
It's
of quality time. It's like you want to have
yes.
quality, you put in the effort.
And see, it's so easy to flip and say, well, we're mad at each other on Tuesday. I ain't going Friday. Well, you can't say that because, a lot can change in 24 hours or maybe somebody had a bad day and maybe you need to offer a little extra understanding or a little extra love. And sometimes when you both come home from work and you're both tired, you both worked all day, you both had to deal with people all day, and when you come home and I think this is important for couples too, Kiana, and it's not really in our notes, but at some point during the day, I think I don't know. I think before you see your person, it's vital to let some stuff go from the day. You know, it's hard to drop off work and not bring it home. I mean, a lot of people do it. So I think it's important too that we show empathy for our partner in what they may have to deal with and what they may have to go through. Um, Prime example, I think I talked about the episode couch thing, where when I got home, we had agreed to do the couch thing. Um, so, but for me, what I need is, um, when I get home, I need that 30 minutes of quietness when I get home. Well, because she has suggested to do the couch thing when I get home, now I can't do the quiet thing initially for 30 minutes because she wants to do the couch thing. So what I had did was I say, you know what? Let me be conscious about what I'm doing and let me be intentional. So what I said was to myself, okay, all right, I can't have it when I get right home, but I know I'll get it. So let me do the couch thing and do the episode thing, and then once that's over, then I can go in the back with the chickens and get my 30 minutes of quietness. So and all that took, Kiana, was a conscious effort and a conscious decision to say, you know what I want is not so important that I ignore totally what she's saying. She has a vital point. So Quentin, if you give her that first, then you can. So in relationships, Kiana, and you know this very well too, it's like a give and take every day. It's going to be a different percentage every day. Yeah, that's yeah, that's great. That's wonderful. Um, Anything you want to add to that before we move on?
Um, I think the only thing when I was researching too about quality time, I think
Hmm.
the other thing too, where 'cause I like to look at one what the person needs, and then I also like to look at two things that you could do that would hurt a person who this is their top love language from like the other
Oh,
side of it. And so for
okay.
someone whose love language is quality time, the other side of that is if lack of eye contact with them, that's one. Where it's like, say you're
Mm,
having a conversation with that person and you're kind of looking at other things and you're talking and stuff, and they're like, that's part of the intentional. So not having eye
okay.
contact with them, missed phone
Okay.
calls, delayed responses to text messages, like going 6, 7, 8 hours without
Whoa.
responding, you know? I'm like, in some instances, like if you can't
Uh-oh.
have your phone, okay, cool. But I'm like, you're bunch of
Uh-oh.
missed calls, a bunch of missed text messages, that not
Yeah.
lack of planning. That's a big thing for people who are quality time is you don't plan. It's just kind of just like, oh, it is what it is. Like I had that with the dude. Oh my gosh. Where I
Yeah.
was like, he was big on like, yo, just let me know where you want me to be.
Right.
I want you to plan something. Like it was just like
Yes.
trying to get him to understand that. I'm like, I
Yes.
appreciate that you're just
Yes.
like, call me up, I got you, I'll be there. But also
Yes.
plan things. That one, if you're having that intentional time being on your phone is a big no-no. Like, don't be on
Yes.
your phone.
Bingo.
Um, and then the other part of it is not making effort to do things they enjoy. So say it's a quality time
Mm.
thing
Okay.
and say, I love going hiking. I don't. I want to start, but just say I love going hiking.
Okay. Okay.
And I'm like, hey, do you want to go on a hike with me? Hey, do you want, and just keeping like, no, 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 I don't hike. No, no, no. It's like, that's part of it. Where it's just like, yo, you could, the compromise is go on a shorter hike, but do the thing that they enjoy to be in that moment with one.
Yes.
Another one I've
Yes.
recently had with someone that I'm dating. This man loves March Madness. I hate basketball. with a passion inside of my soul. I hate basketball. It is the most boring sport known to man, okay? But he wanted me to do March Madness. I was like, finally, I was like, you know what? I will do March Madness with you. Do I have to actually watch games? He was like, no, you don't. Say less. So I did the March Madness. Now, that made him super excited because that's something he enjoys. And the conference, it didn't cost me anything to do it. Like, I don't have to sit here
Right,
and watch all the games. It's just go in, make the brackets. Okay, cool. So I'm like,
right.
that's a compromise type thing. It's like, I'm going to do the thing
Yes,
you enjoy doing. And
yes,
that's the compromise. So
yes.
that's the importance with quality time. It's like, do things they enjoy too.
That's perfect. That's perfect. I had seen a post on Facebook that said, well, I haven't heard back from you in 13 minutes. You have a good life.
Mhm.
Yeah. I said, great
I,
day.
I'm petty.
I
If
ain't
I
heard.
call you and you don't answer, I'll never call you again. I
There
am
you go.
petty.
There you go. I had a coworker and he's, dating this lady and, he works really hard and he actually has two jobs and he works the day job and he works a second job and, so we was talking about, hey man, what you doing over the weekend? He said, Mr. Lee, I am tired. I said, I know you are. I said, I understand that. He said, I'm tired. He said, but my lady, she wants to go do this bonfire thing and Mr. Lee, sometimes you got to compromise. Um, and that right there is one of the prime examples. He's saying, hey, look, I'm tired. It's the weekend. I've worked two jobs, Monday through Friday. When Saturday comes, I just want to sit down and be quiet. But because she wanted to go on the bonfire, he took that as an opportunity to say, you know what? I'm going to show that I'm invested. I'm here. And it's not that he doesn't want to go to the bonfire, but it's just the way life is working. So I thought it was very interesting that he would say that. And we're doing the episode on love languages. I say, in my head, I'm saying, yeah, okay, that's what it's about. Because Keanah, he could have easily said, you know what? She want me to go to this bonfire. Mr. Lee, I'm not going. I'm tired. But he didn't do that. So it's really about being very intentional. And if your person is worth it to you, you will make sacrifices for your person. That's just how I feel. So yeah. So leading us right into the physical touch. Physical touch just isn't about intimacy in a romantic relationship. It goes back to what you just said. Maybe for that guy, Kiana, if he's sitting there watching March Madness and you're not really into it, if he can just like, touch your leg while he's watching March Madness, he's good,
Hmm.
right? It doesn't have to be an intimate thing or romantic thing all the time. Um, a big thing for me, a big thing for me, Keanu, was, and maybe I didn't do a proper job, when I was married of this, and well, I know I didn't, and explaining this, but because I worked so hard, what my physical touch was that I needed was, Kiana, after that long, hard day, all I wanted to do was just come home and hug my wife. That's it. I just wanted to come home and give her the biggest hug because I missed her. And it was a long day. Them fools at work got on my nerves. But finally, I'm back home with my family. I just need a big hug. And we talked about this before. Because a lot of men don't communicate properly, that simple thing was lost in translation. And because it was lost in translation, it turned into something it didn't even need to turn into. Man, that's crazy. Because of that simple miscommunication, it turned into something it did not need to turn into. A simple gesture of me saying, sweetheart, all I want when I come home is just to give you a hug. We can spend time together, whoop de whoop, whatever you want to do. But that's what I need when I first get home. I don't want to see chickens. I don't want to work on no music. I just need to give you a hug. But that simple miscommunication turned into something it didn't even need to turn into. This is why it's so important to have that proper communication. Physical touch does not need to be about intimacy or anything romantic. It can also be about small gestures like holding hands, hugging, or pats on the back. Uh, like if you come across your boy, like when I see my homeboy at work I was talking about, we pat each other on the shoulder. It's like, up there he goes again, and it's like a gesture to say, hey, we made it another day. I see you. I recognize you. Let me give you a hit on the shoulder. I'm proud of you. And all of those small things in the touching involves the physical touching that has nothing to do with romanticism or intimacy.
Yeah. And I definitely think and I saw this somewhere, they said, physical touch as a love language is a non-verbal form of communication.
Okay.
So like, that's the entire for people who are physical touch. And that is the device of like physical touch means sex. Like, part of it there. But intimacy is more than just the physical part. It goes all the way into it. But with
Yeah.
physical touch, like somebody's like physical, especially with guys, and they're like, physical touch is so important.
Yeah.
Generally, and sometimes we as women, we're like, so you just want sex. That's it. It's
No.
like, no, that's
Right.
not the
No.
entirety of it.
No.
So for someone
No.
whose love language is physical touch, it's just
Yes.
they want to feel connected to you. So it
Yes.
could be
Bingo.
that, like, if you're,
Yes.
say you're married in a house together and their love language is their, physical touch is their love language. Just when
Correct.
you walk past them, it is a touch. It's like, oh, I see you. I feel you. When you're sitting
Yes.
down, it's like, you know what? Putting your leg on mine. If you're driving, holding my hand.
Yes. Right.
So it's more than just what most people boil it down to, which is sex. And it's like, no,
Yes.
physical touch, think about it, it's a nonverbal form of communication. So
Yes.
to the other side of it too, if somebody's love language is physical touch, there are ways that they can feel rejected. One of them,
Ooh.
and I was looking it up, they're like one-sided initiation of touch. So if they're always the person initiating touch and you never do, for them, that's something they could feel like is rejection. Like, why am I the person always initiating touch? Um, just a simple thing you talk about, like hand holding and kissing stuff. If they reach for your hand and you kind of just like move it away, they're gonna see that as a rejection. If
Yes.
you say y'all are talking and you're sitting on the couch together, and instead of y'all being here, you're like lean this way and they're there, they're going to see that as, you know, a
Right.
rejection because they're like, hey, I'm trying to have this contact and you're moving away from me. So it's like if
Right.
somebody love language is physical touch, you have to be aware. And I know I have to be aware. Physical touch for me is in the middle. It's not really my top. It's kind of in the middle. But in dealing with in relationships, people who physical touch is their top love language, I have to be careful that one, I'm just never going to be that person that wants you up on top of me. Like it is
Right.
hot, back off. I need a little bit of space, but
Right.
also I still have to be aware and be like, you know what? When I am creating distance or space, let me do it in a way that doesn't feel like rejection.
Correct.
So
Right.
me being able to be comfortable, it's like I might not be all over top of you every 2 seconds, but
Mm-hmm.
I can still reach out and hold your hand. I can
Mm-hmm.
still like just stop right and be like, oh, just give me a hug or kiss.
Mm-hmm.
Like
Mm-hmm.
I can still do things. So that's just like if it's not your top, then it's like again, you're not
And
saying put yourself in situations that are uncomfortable. It's just saying expand.
yes. Yes. Well, and even and when I was researching too, even if you're watching a movie, even if your leg is not on him, just the connection of sitting beside each other can be enough sometimes, you know. If you all have been gone from each other all day, just the simple fact that you can just sit beside each other and have the option to hold hands, the biggest thing for me with the physical touch is, and you hit on it too, is that the option is there. If I want to hold your hand, you won't reject me. If I want to give you a hug, you won't feel like you're going out of your way to give me a hug. If I want to rub your leg, I'm not being a creep by rubbing my lady's or my wife's leg, you know. So we it just to know, for, especially for a man, just to know that that option is there and my lady is there. And if physical touch is my thing, that I know I won't bombard her with it. I won't do that. Um, because I also have to respect if that's not her too. I also have to respect that. So I won't bombard her with it, but just the fact that the option is there. And I know that if I really need that handhold, is there, as opposed to like you just said too, I'm forcing the handhold or I'm forcing the hug because, like we talked about the other episode, don't worry about it. I won't ask you for another hug.
Mhm.
If it's bothering you like that to give me a hug, don't worry about it. But then it's gonna go downhill from there. But but yeah. So, any more thoughts to that?
Oh, I feel like, yeah, no, I think if anything, out of the love languages, to me, physical touch is the one that requires the most communication
Okay.
because I'm
All
like,
right.
that's the one I think
Yes.
can easily, because it's a non-verbal form of communication, I feel like that's
Right.
one of the ones that can easily be misconstrued because you're
Right.
not verbalizing.
Right.
So I think that's one of the ones with physical touch is the one you actually have to communicate more.
Yes.
So that way you're being
Yes.
aware of things like, you know what are you comfortable with? What am I? And you got to be able to have a real transparent conversations of like,
Correct.
what are you, me, I get hot at a certain point in time.
Right.
I get hot. I like dudes who are
Right.
built like a freight train. That's a lot of
Right.
body heat. So I'm like, I
Okay.
can be on you for so long and then I'm hot. And once I get hot,
Right.
I want to just back up against some air. But you
Right.
have to have those real honest conversations, especially
Yes.
when it comes to
Yes.
physical touch, because it's very easily, to me, I'm like, yo, I'm sitting up because my back started to hurt because I'm at an awkward angle. To him, he can see
Right.
me like, oh, she doesn't want me to touch her anymore. We just had a
Correct.
whole
Right.
conversation and nobody said anything.
Correct. Yes. And well, see, that goes into the challenges and boundaries because, Kiana, not everyone is comfortable with physical touch, and you really need that open communication, um, to recognize, hey, for instance, I've talked to some ladies before that they would say something that, I was taken aback at first, but now in diving into it, I understand where they would say, Q, even you coming up to grab my hand to hold my hand is a trigger for me. Whereas I'm like, huh? I didn't, I never did anything to you to make that become a trigger. That's part of my love language is, hey, I want to go hold your hand. So out of the blue, here I come to hold your hand, not realizing that for her, that's a trigger. You feel me?
Yeah, and I definitely think that with physical touch, it ties into we're when it comes to physical touch as a love language, it's so much so influenced by our experiences and our environments, which is why I
Yes.
think it's the one you have to communicate the most with,
Yes.
especially so
Yes.
you can understand. I always say I don't like tripping over landmines. And it's this idea of
Oh,
like, you know that it's
okay.
there. You know there's a
Okay.
boundary there. You know it's a no-go zone, but that hasn't been communicated to me. So now I
Right.
just been tripped over a landmine. And now we
Bingo.
have this whole entire explosion of a situation that just happened
Right.
because I didn't know it was
Yes.
there. So that's something I
Yes.
communicate and have the hard conversation. I'm like, okay, let me know if there's any landmine because I
Yes.
never want to do anything that intentionally hurts you or
Yes.
makes you feel uncomfortable. So let's
Yes.
have the conversation now. I'd rather
Yeah.
not wait until it happens to have a
Yes.
conversation. Let me
Yes.
know now. Let's have this conversation now.
Yeah. And that's what happened to me when she said that. And it's just like you said. Upon her saying that, now my brain can process and say, oh, okay, you know what? That is my bad. So then you switch up and say, now because I understand that, 'cause what she was saying was, it's not that I don't want it, but for me, that's been a trigger. So what I learned to do was now you can have that conversation of, hey, do you mind if? And you'll be surprised that if you just start having conversations with your person like that, where you can say, hey, are you comfortable with? This is what I like. What do you like? How do you feel when I touch your shoulder? Or what if I play in your hair? Does that bother you? You have to have these real hard conversations, Keanu. You're exactly right. And you have to approach this particular love language, and you just said it, with extreme care. um, because it is so sensitive, you have to approach it with care, love, understanding. You have to emphasize the importance of people's comfort levels and then adjust accordingly. Um, for instance, and you spoke on it with the basketball game. But if I need 10 hugs a week and she's only comfortable with 5, well, then I'm cool with 5. You know, I'm not going to make a big kerfuffle about the extra 5 hugs I'm not getting because she's reached her limit with the hugs,
And
right?
that might change week to week. And that's the thing with physical touch or with all of these
Yes,
love languages, but
bingo,
with physical touch
bingo,
specifically, like it can change,
bingo.
week to week,
Yes,
moment to moment. Like there's certain moments, like anything having to do with my period. Sometimes I'm like, don't touch me. Like you breathing is
yes.
irritating my life, and it just might be moments like that where it's like, I'm like, ugh,
Yeah,
you know? And it's like the same thing could be for him where he's like, yo, I'm just like real stressed right now. And I know you want to
yeah,
be all cuddly and cute, but I just want to sit in silence, like
yeah,
just to myself for a little bit. And it's like, you got to be able to ebb and flow with how things change in a relationship
yes,
where it's like, maybe
yes,
right now, maybe y'all just hit a patch where you're super busy. And it's like,
yes. Okay,
all
yes,
we have is the
yes.
30 minutes this week.
Yes,
And
all
it's like,
yeah.
and
It
that's
may
okay.
be a week where that's all you have, right? Yeah, right, right. Yeah. Or, Kiana, some days you might not even have that. Some days the only time you may have together is if when you go down to sleep together. That may be the only time you got because the day was just so crazy. The only time that you get to is the pillow talk. But so yeah, you're right. You're absolutely right. Um, that's going to change. Yeah, and that's going to be probably one of the most ones that's like a roller coaster. It's going to always kind of fluctuate, and you have to ebb and flow with how and connect with your partner and on how to move forward today because tomorrow, like you said, it may not be up here tomorrow. Tomorrow may be down here. And if
Yep.
and if and when we make mistakes, is upon realizing that we get in our feelings. Oh, she didn't, and oh, and then, oh, okay. And then that's when we start to go downhill and make mistakes, not understanding that this relationship life walk is a up and down thing. It's a give and take. Um, People need to stop being so selfish, Kiana, and understand that if I am in a relationship with a person, um, their feelings matter too.
I agree. Like you want both people to feel like their needs are being met. Um, but also understanding it's y'all have different needs and it might not always be met the exact same way. And that's okay.
Hmm.
But as long as you're always sit there and say, like, if my goal, we talked about this, last episode, if my goal is for you to understand how we get there is not the main focus for me. It's just figuring out,
Mm,
okay, our goal
mm,
is to understand. Our goal is for us to both feel like we are receiving and being shown love and appreciated. That's our end goal. How we do that can shift and change. Like you want to the March Madness. You've accepted. I'm not going to sit down and watch games with you. You've accepted that. But
right.
also what I can give is I'll do the bracket. Now I'm finna go in here and I ain't gonna know nothing about most of these teams and I'm gonna just click on stuff. But I'm in the bracket though. And every single week we're gonna sit down here and talk about these points. That is the meat in the middle. And it's like, and that's okay. Like he gets to feel like I'm part of it, but he accepted she hates basketball. I'm not gonna keep pushing her. And I accepted he loves basketball. I'm gonna do this. So I'm like, that's the importance of the compromise part of it too. And that's with
Right.
anything in a relationship.
Yeah. But Kara, understand now what you're talking about. It's almost like you're talking too much sense because most people are not as as invested with understanding what we're talking about. My hope is that through these through the series of What About Love and through the episodes of the love languages is that people begin to understand that to to garner a healthy, the proper relationship is take sacrifice, understanding, empathy, and patience because everybody is different. Who you dated before is not going to be who you date the next time, and vice versa. Understand who you are to them is not who they had last time. So we have to understand and take the time to know your person. And Kiana, that takes time. And with this microwave society that we live in, we lack the commitment to want to take our time. We want to jump from step one to step 10 in 2 weeks, and it just cannot happen that way. My father said that he's still learning stuff about um, in his marriage 30 years later, Kiana. And it's like my brain is having a hard time. Remember when you told me that your mom and dad just sit around and just look at each other and talk to each other? So,
Mhm.
like when my dad says, Q, I'm still learning 30 years later, and I'm saying, I don't want to learn 30 years later. We should know each
Hey,
other by now.
y'all ain't done it. What else is there to know? Y'all been in
Yes,
the same, looking at each other for 30 years
yes,
and you still learning
right.
stuff.
Yeah, I can't, huh? Yeah, right. He said, Q, man, I'm still learning. I said, man, but that's life, Kiana. And if we switch it, uh, biblically just for a second, look at the time that God uses to work with us. It's not just over a few years, it's a lifetime. So if we take what God does for us and just break it down into 5 love languages, we need to do the same thing for our person. It's going to take time. You know, you're not going to learn that person overnight. We spoke about this in another episode too. Over time, as people get older, they mature, they age differently, they mature and they stop doing some immature things as they get older. Maybe you met them when they were immature and then life had to mature them. So you had to go through that process with them. Maybe they came across a unexpected health issue and you have to stay with them in that. Um, Maybe they went through a financial drought and or they lost their job and now they're struggling there, and where maybe what attracted you to them at first was because they had such success financially. Well, now you're at a crossroad upon life happening and them losing that. Now it's like, okay, what do I do? Do I cut off and go find greener pastures, or do I hang in there with my person and help them see this through to this tough part of their life? So, how can we, Kiana, approach love languages with care, and how can we, what is going to help us get through the process of a relationship, whether it's intimate, romantic, or with a family member or with a coworker? How can we approach love languages with care?
Yeah, we talked about this lesson. Number one, take the test. Everybody should take the love language test. If you can't, number one,
Mhm.
take the test. Number
Yes,
two, I would say learn all of the love languages. And it's like if you
yes,
understand each one of them, it makes it easier for you to spot when someone is doing one of them or when
yes,
someone needs one of them. And so I'm like, that's just the
yes,
importance of just educating yourself. And even if a lot of times now, especially now with dating stuff, we're like, what's your love language? What's your love language? And we say it, but then we don't have a full understanding of what they are. And sometimes
right,
people might not be able to articulate what their love language is. But if you have an understanding of all 5 love languages, the more time you spend with that person, you'll start to notice like, oh, your love language, like it might be quality time. That's more. So let me like invest and focus on that. Um,
yes,
Even just relationships like platonic ones with family. It took me a while to know, it's like for my mother, her love language is acts of service. And she likes to
okay,
do. And so
okay,
I actively have to be like to myself, where she's like, oh, I made like this food for you. I'm like, no, I'm good. Like I'm not really hungry right now. But then I have to
mhm,
remind myself, I'm like, she's doing that because she cares. That's how she's showing she cares.
yes,
Let me make sure I don't reject that. And it's like,
yes,
because I'm aware of the love languages now, when people are showing me in that way, it's easier for me to understand it and make sure that I'm appreciating it, or at least
yes,
making sure that I'm communicating. I'll say it this way, making sure I'm communicating my appreciation for that thing. So that's the importance. I'm like, y'all just learn the love languages of what they
yes,
are. And then
yes,
once you start to learn them, you'll start to see it more. And then you'll be able to, everybody wants to feel seen and valued.
yes,
And it's like,
hmm,
it makes you easier to see people and to value them and the things that they do for you, but also how you can show up for them too. And like I said, it's the thing about the love languages is only one of them is verbal. The other ones are
Yes.
not. A lot of those involve nonverbal things. So it lets you take it beyond just I am
Yes.
saying. So it's like the love language just put a little bit of action behind the words. So that's the
Yes.
importance of it. Put a little action behind it.
Okay. Yeah. My struggle was, Kiana, I knew my love language, and it's almost like when you know what you like, because of course you know what you like. We're so dogmatic, and I know mine. Give me mine. I want mine. Give me mine. But you said it. You need to be fluent in all five because most people only gravitate to about one or two. But you need to be fluent in all five. That way, should you come across somebody who is fluent in what you're not fluent in, you're going to need to know how to handle and deal with that person. So I would say this to our viewers. When you look at love languages, you need to look at it from a point from within and what your list is, your strengths, your weaknesses. Then if you come across a partner, you also need to study them to know what their list is, what their weaknesses is. And let me ask you this, Kiana. If people take the test, the love languages test, what if people already have somebody? Would you encourage them to take the test together or take it separately, then come together? Would you encourage couples to do that?
Yeah, I definitely think it's important
Okay.
to take it together. And then two,
Okay.
if you've never taken the love language test, actually take it. Because a lot of
Okay. You're right.
times,
Yes.
because
Yes.
it's such an in thing now, love languages,
Yes.
unless you've actually taken the test to see, you could have thought the entire time your love language was this one thing, the
Good
entire
point.
time. And it's actually not. You might be
Yes.
sitting there thinking, my love language is physical touch, is physical touch. You take the test and
Right.
it's like, oh, it turns out it's actually words of
Acts of
affirmation,
service. Yeah. Yeah.
or
Right. Yeah.
acts of service.
Yeah.
I'm an
Right.
affectionate person. Turns out you're
Right.
affectionate, but your love language
Yes.
wasn't physical touch. It was,
Right.
acts of service or gift giving. And you got those
Right.
two conflated with each other. It's like,
Right.
no, so
That's right.
actually definitely take your time to learn what your love languages are. And then y'all can come together and sit down and do some of the research in the literature. It's very much so open now to
Yes.
understand what is needed in each love language, but also as you learn what's needed, you also start to identify the landmines where it's just like, oh,
Yes.
this is something I could be doing unintentionally, and because this is their love language, it's hitting them
Yes.
differently. So say where your
Yes.
love language is words of affirmation, and when you go out, she goes, "Oh, do you like this outfit?" And you're kind of like, "Oh, no, I mean, it looks fine, whatever you want to wear." And you're not knowing that's cutting her down every single time because she just wants to hear from you that, she
Yes.
looks beautiful. Or she just
Right.
wants to hear from you, like, maybe not right now with that outfit. But you go out here and
Right.
she look crazy and then she's looking at you like, you didn't tell me, you know?
Bingo.
So it's also,
Right.
so it's great.
Yes. Yes. So really, Kiana, what we aspire to do with this episode and really with the series What About Love is to help people understand themselves and then have more rounded, healthier relationships with themselves, with their partners, their loved ones, their family members, their co-workers, because it's a subject that we don't talk enough about. So I encourage you, as Kiana does too, to take the love languages test to find out exactly where you fit. If you have a partner already, take it together to see where you two are. Show empathy. And I also encourage this to our viewers. Any questions, any comments that you have, put it down in the comment section so maybe we can discuss it or talk about it in a future podcast. So, Miss Kiana, this was great. Part one and two was great. How do you feel about that? I love it. This was great.
I know, it was good. I like that we split it up and I like that we took
Yes,
the time to look at it from, all sides of if it is, if it isn't, what that looks like in,
yes,
relationship, but also in family and different areas. So I think we did good.
yes, yes, yes. So, thank you, Kiana. We're going to keep it going. We're going to be continuing the What About Love series for the next episode. So stay tuned from us here. This is Quentin Lee for the On Cue podcast, and Miss Keanah Turner for the On Cue podcast. We love you. Until we see you again, be safe, love everybody, including yourself. Until we see you again, peace.